welcome to The Explainer. So today we're going to tackle a question that I think we all face. Why is good advice so incredibly hard to follow? We're going to break down a really powerful way of thinking about success that isn't about some quick fix, but about, a real fundamental shift in your mindset.
So, let's just start with this problem that I'm sure you felt before. You're surrounded by all this great advice, right? From books, from podcasts, from people you look up to, but it just feels like it goes in one ear and right out the other. The guidance is literally all around us, but why can't we seem to actually hear it?
And that really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Who are you actually listening to? Because the quality of the advice you get depends completely on where it comes from. So it is absolutely crucial to stop and ask yourself, am I turning to the right people?
And this brings us right to our first key idea. See, the challenge isn't that there's a lack of guidance from people who've been there. It's usually our own inability to really listen when it counts the most.
Just think about it for a second. How many times have you looked back and thought, man, I wish someone had told me that when I was younger? Well, here's the thing. Someone probably did. We've all had mentors, teachers, or family members offering up wisdom, but so often we just weren't in a place to really hear it. So where do most of us go for advice these days? We go to these anonymous online communities, asking people who are, let's be honest, often just as lost as we are. But the real gold, the priceless advice, that comes from your actual role models, the people who have already walked the exact path you're trying to get on. Okay, so if the answer is to just ask the right people, that leads to the next obvious question. How do you do it? How do you ask in a way that actually gets you the answers you need? Well, here is a brilliantly simple and I mean super actionable method. First, you find 5 role models in your field. Then you ask each of them for 2 lists. 5 things you should do and 5 things you absolutely should not do. And then here's the most important step. You look for the patterns. And this is where the magic happens. When 2 or 3 or even more of these successful people give you the exact same piece of advice, the same do or the same don't, that's no longer just an opinion. That right there is your roadmap. That is the non-negotiable wisdom you've been looking for, and it cuts through all the noise. Following that roadmap takes passion. And that brings us to our next big idea. True passion isn't about what you say you feel. It's about what you do. It's about what you can prove. To really get this, let me tell you about this incredible personal story. Someone wanted to work for a very specific company. So he just walked in the front door and said, I want to work here. And he was rejected. Instantly. The reason they gave was that they only hired Japanese people, and he wasn't Japanese. For most people, that's it. Story's over. But he came back the very next day. He walked back in and told them, I can work like a Japanese person. And again, the answer was a hard no. They turned him away for a second time. But he came back the next day, and the next, for 3 straight weeks. He just kept showing up. He even offered to work for free. And that's when they finally saw it. They saw his sincerity. His actions were screaming way louder than any words on a resume ever could. This story just perfectly illustrates the whole point, doesn't it? Real passion, it has an energy to it. It's something other people can actually see and feel from you. You don't have to announce it. Your commitment, your relentless drive, it makes it completely obvious. Now, to have that kind of incredible persistence, you need to have a very, very healthy relationship with failure and rejection. And that brings us to our next critical topic. So let's just reframe what failure actually means. It is not falling down. True failure is being so afraid of falling that you never even take the first step. That's the real failure. So the thing to fear isn't failing at a task. The thing to really fear is getting to the end of your life and realizing you never failed because you never truly tried. Every single attempt, whether it works or not, it builds the resilience, the strength you need for the journey. Look, we have to separate 2 very different things here. Failing in a task and failing in life. Messing up a project, that's normal. It's just a data point. But resilience, that's the skill of getting back up. It is not something you're born with. It's a muscle you build every single time you fall and you choose to stand up again. And you have to be the one to make that choice. If you let go of that rope, nobody else is going to pick it up for you. So ultimately, all of this, it all comes down to one simple, unavoidable truth. It's about personal responsibility and just unwavering effort. At the end of the day, the difference between people who get what they want and people who don't is just action. People who have that real passion and a clear goal, they're already on the path to success, even if they haven't reached the finish line yet. Why? Because they're in motion. And this is the belief you just have to hold on to. The effort you put in today, it might not pay off tomorrow, but it is never, ever wasted. It compounds over time. Your skills, your resilience, your reputation, they won't betray you. Trust me, that work will come back to you.
So we'll leave you with this. Success is not about never falling down. It's about having the courage to get up one more time than you've been knocked down. So the real question is, are you ready to embrace that challenge and start running?